Welcome to Chapter 3, Harmonized Codes. Please be sure to read the chapter before going further in the video, as this discussion will primarily be a review with a couple of opportunities to practice classifying products. The Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System, also known as the International Harmonized Codes, is a way of standardizing product classifications across countries. For this reason, the subheading, the first full 6 digits, are the same in each country, while at the 10-digit level, there may be variations from country to country, depending on how precise a particular country wants to be on their commodity code for a given item. Schedule B is managed by the U.S. Census Bureau, and it's used for classifying products that are exported. So let's look at an example. Let's say that you're exporting the product that's shown in the picture. If you're not a boater, you may not recognize that this is a boating fender. So let's take a look and see how we would classify that in the Schedule B. So looking at the 2015 classifications, you can see they're quite detailed, quite detailed. And to save some time, I'll point out that boating fenders are made of rubber. So let's look at rubber articles. And then if we scroll down through rubber articles, you can see, wow, that gets really detailed. So you may or may not spot it as we scroll down. But hopefully you'll get the idea that there's a lot to look at. So perhaps an easier way of approaching it would be to use the Schedule B search engine. So let's take a look at that, and this will give us an opportunity to type in boat fender, and let's see what we come up with. Now, as we said, we know they're made out of rubber, so we can clarify it a little bit further and type in rubber. And voila, here's our Schedule B number. And since you'll be asked for that in the homework, you may want to jot it down. So the Schedule B number that we're going to use for exporting boat or dock fenders is this one. But what about importing? Let's say that you're importing boat fenders. Let's take a look at that. Where would you look? Well, as we said, you'd look in the Harmonized Tariff Schedules of the United States, which is managed by the Office of Tariff Affairs and Trade Agreements within the U.S. International Trade Commission. So let's see where we might find boat fenders. And you'll notice that this too is extremely detailed, probably not a big surprise there. And you can see all the various chapter headings. Okay. Now we could do the same thing we did with the Schedule B and try to figure out the appropriate chapter and go from there. Or we could also type it in the box and see what we come up with. Okay. And is it the same number as for exporting? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is the same. So boat fenders, unlike the example given in your book of the seafood example, are perhaps not as precise. Okay, and then once again, you may want to jot this down for the homework. But what about an item that's not as obvious? I mean, a boat fender, that's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, it's just a plastic item that you hang between your boat and the dock so you don't mess up your boat. But what about an item like, let's say a wetsuit that's not just neoprene, but a combination of neoprene and then a nylon coating, nylon, in other words, like the nylon that you wear in a clothing outfit, on both the outside and the inside of the neoprene? How would that be classified? Would it be classified under rubber products, or would it be classified under materials for clothing? So, with challenging classifications, there are a couple of different ways you can go about getting more information. You could use the classification search engine, and this is an example of that. You could also get help from the census in finding the appropriate Schedule B numbers. Now, there are a couple ways you could do that. You could call, or you could go online. Here's an example of either going online or calling them. You could also utilize the Small Business Administration U.S. Export Assistance Centers. last but not least, you could get a binding ruling. So a binding ruling is a finding on an item that is open to interpretation. So case in point, this is the binding ruling on the aforementioned specialized wetsuit, the flat lock shorty wetsuit. And you can see that they did come up with a final classification. And they also stated what the duty rate would be, that it's 7.1% ad valorem. In terms of classifications, there are two more that are worth mentioning. Historically, the United States has used the standard industrial classification to classify types of businesses. But more recently, the US, Canada, and Mexico have adopted the North American industry classification to gather statistics on business.